welcome to another fabulous episode of How Many Tabs Are Open on Mr. Johnson's Computer? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It looks like the picture's in the corner again. Hooray! Yay! Yay! We're in the corner. If you don't like my face in the corner, I'm sorry. Yesterday was the best day. Today's a bad day again. It's an asynchronous Wednesday. We have some more three-dimensional figures. We are going to be talking about bases and volume. All right, so let's go ahead and click on our handy dandy STAR Grade 5 Mathematics reference materials. Remember that all of your volume formulas live at the bottom. Okay, so here's the cube formula. So if you have a cube, which is your three-dimensional square, remember it's volume equals side times side times side, because all the sides are the same. Today we're dealing with rectangular prisms, so we're going to have to focus on volume equals length times width times height. So three dimensions: length, width, and height. All right. You also have the formula volume equals base times height. All right. Remember, base is the same thing as length times width, because if base times height equals volume and length times width times height equals volume, then the product of length times width is your base. All right. Also remember, as you move through school next year, your STAR reference guide, your only volume formula that they're going to give you for your cheat sheet is the volume equals base times height. All right. So right now, as a fifth grader, you get this extra formula. So get familiar with this formula and memorize it, because next year they do not give you that formula, the volume of a cube. They do not give you the volume equals length times width times height formula for rectangular prism next year on your STAR cheat sheet. Just give you volume equals base times height. So remember, length times width is the same thing as base. So if it helps you to remember that base is also like area, it's the bottom layer of any three-dimensional figure. So let's look at today's work. How are the two images the same? How are the two images different? All right. Immediately, I notice that they're the same because they're both rectangular prisms. Okay. I can also count the units: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units wide. It says 6 units wide. 1, 2, 2 units long. 1, 2 units long, and then 1, 2, 2 units high. So actually, the dimensions of the rectangular prism on the left are the same as the rectangular prism on the right. So our rectangular prism here on the left is 6 units long, 6 units wide, 2 units long, and 2 units high. Remember, you could also say that it's 6 units long, 2 units wide, and 2 units high. For what we're doing right now, if you mix up your length and your width, it's not going to make the biggest deal. But do not mix up your height, all right? Because remember, length times width together made your base, all right? So 3 times 4 is the same thing as 4 times 3. So if you mix up your length and your width, your base will still be the same. However, if you mix up your height in that, that's when it gets a little funky, all right? So I would say for the length and width, you could either say that the length is 6, or you could say that the width is 6, and then you could say that the length is 2 or the width is 2. All right. Usually, I like to think of it like width wide. So it can help you sometimes to think, oh, this is 6 wide. It's 2 long from front to back, and then 2 high, 2 units high. All right. So the dimensions of the rectangular prism on the left, we could say 6 is the length, or 6 is the width, 2 is the length, or 2 is the width. And remember, 2 is the height. All right, so for the next two, we're going to have to use our formulas. So it says the base of the rectangular prism on the left is blank cubic units. So the base, remember that base is the same thing as the length times the width. All right, and it's really close to your area formula if you're looking at your STAR cheat sheet. Area is length times width. We also know that base is equivalent to length times width. All right, so when we're looking at this, base equals length times width, we established that on our three-dimensional figure that we had a width of 6, we had a length of 2, because it was like 2 squares, and then, oops, that's totally, if I'm doing height of 2, that doesn't work. And then we had a height of 2. So right now, to find the base, I'm going to multiply the length times the width. So the length is 2. The width was 6. So my base is 2 times 6. My base is 12 cubic units. All right. And if you're having trouble seeing this, look at the top part. I mean, the base layer is one layer, right? But the top layer is the same as the base layer. So we can count the top layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 cubic units. So we have two layers of 12 cubic units. So 2 times 12 would give us 24, which is our total volume. But only one layer has 12 cubic units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the bottom layer, the base of the rectangular prism on the left, is 12 cubic units because it is 6 by 2. 6 times 2 is 12. So the base of the rectangular prism on the left is 12 cubic units. It's also going to be the base of the one on the right, but we don't see the cubic units, right? But if we're doing length times width, it's still going to be 12. So both of these have a base of 12 cubic units. We can see it easier on this one because they separated each one into the cubes. All right. And then finally, the volume of the rectangular prism on the right is blank cubic units. So once again, let's get our handy dandy formula for a rectangular prism volume. Volume equals length times width times height. So, let me go over here. Volume is equal to length times width times height. So now what I want to do is I just want to plug in, the numbers that we have. So when I'm looking at this image over here, it looks like my width is 6. So basically what we're doing is just plugging in the numbers. So if my width was 6, and then my length is 2, and then my height is also 2, right? So what I'm looking at is my length was 2 from front to back, my width was 6 from side to side, and then my height was 2. All right, so now I've filled in for my L, for my W, for my H. So my volume is equal to, let's just do this one bit at a time. Now we found our base by multiplying length times width, so 2 times 6 equals 12. That's our base, 12 cubic units. So now we just need to multiply 12 cubic units by 2 layers because it's 2 layers tall, and that tells us that our volume is 24 cubic units. All right, so to use the stems, remember that your length is 2, your width was 6, and your height was 2, because when we look over here, we can count length 1, 2, width 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and height 1, 2. So that fills out the first one. The base of your rectangular prism on the left was, remember, length times width. Our length was 2, our width was 6, so our base was 12 cubic units. Don't forget to include cubic units. And then finally, the volume of the rectangular prism on the right was length times width times height. So 6 times 2 was 12, times 2 more was 24. That's what we got over here. Length times width times height. We found our base, which was 12, multiplied that by 2 layers, and we got 24 cubic units. So your volume of the rectangular prism on the right is 24 cubic units. So that is finding volume. As you can see, this is the transition from having the gridded kind of cubic units to having labeled cubic units. And this is what you see more of as you get older. All right. And so you'll probably not see much of this outside of 5th grade. All right. Okay. Well, I hope that you have a wonderful Asynchronous Wednesday. If you have any questions or anything, reach out to your teachers. We're here for you. Yeah. Have a wonderful day. I love y'all. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. And I will see y'all later. Bye.